Tomkek, if you remember, guys, this was the guy that made all those cool mount remake videos. Well, he remade a weapon. And not just any weapon. One of the coolest, well-themed, Death Knight-esque weapons in the game. Yeah. So this is good stuff. I can't wait to see it. Let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, yeah.
My friends, I did the unspeakable and updated the Hungering Cold, or Slayer of the Lifeless. If you're Wrath, baby, cringe. The chief's on the back, and it looks like $1,000,000 while it sits there.
Yeah,
most
great,
famous sword in the
weapon.
game, though. How do you justify that statement?
Behold.
You probably didn't even notice, but I've been doing a lot of mounts recently, and I don't want to
Yeah.
be a one-horse pony, so I'm changing things up. So here I am.
His mount
all
remakes
changed
were
up,
unbelievable.
Back to my roots, redoing weapons, starting out by updating the Sword of 1,000 Truths. A process that I began by taking the low poly 2005 base model and turning it into a higher res 2023 edition. If you've seen my content before, this first step in my process won't come as news to you, but this will. I finally graduated uni, making me officially a
There you
qualified
go.
game artist. That's right. I now own a piece of paper that says that I'm able to make the things already in my portfolio. All for about the price of 23 washing machines and a kidney. Just in time for AI to replace me. And with that,
Sometimes this is just in time for AI to replace me. So sad and true. I swear, sometimes college degrees do feel like you're just getting a paper to justify the things that you already knew how to do.
completing the first step in our journey,
Kinda
I
true.
turned this, yep, that old thing, into this.
Oh,
Yep.
this is gonna look sexy.
Nice and all, Tom, but that skull misses the mark for me. Are you dumb? Yes, but let me explain. I'm going for a different workflow than I used in my previous weapon remakes. I'm not just gonna model it by hand and ram it into Substance Painter. No, I was gonna get into sculpting. The uprest model you just saw me make was only gonna serve as a base for this. I first did
Oh
these
my
parts
God.
the old-fashioned way, because when it comes to sculpting, making very smooth geometric shapes like you tend to see in weapons is quite tricky, especially when you're new to the craft like I am. New to the craft? But
This
Tom,
guy's great.
you just said you graduated. Shouldn't you already know how to do all that stuff? Nope. But if you need a report about it...
Wait a minute. People think that you learn things in college? You just do it for the paper, man. Come on.
I'm your guy. I did give sculpting a bit of a test run recently though, in which I found it to actually be really intuitive, and the results I got out of it were pretty satisfactory, which gave me some confidence. So naturally, my attempt to sculpt this weapon turned out to be an absolute dumpster fire. I'm sparing you those parts in the video, but the tools didn't behave how I thought they should, the mesh didn't respond to them how I wanted it to,
Oh,
and everything
damn,
was
look at that.
garbage.
He's putting,
I must
like,
have
cracks
redone
and
every
etching
part
in
of
it.
this weapon between like 3 and 6 times, often from scratch. For all of them, I tried multiple different aesthetic approaches and techniques, looking for something that felt right, finding instead sorrow and existential dread. So if it looks like the aesthetic keeps changing here, well, that's why. Anyway,
Oh
with
my
all
God,
that said
this-
and done,
I could just
finished
tell
my
from the
sculpt.
detail he's
It
putting
doesn't
in. This
quite
looks
get
like
us
it's gonna
there,
be
though.
great.
Sculpted models can often have millions of polygons. For reference, the original Hungering Colt has 374 polygons. That is indeed less. In order to make these ridiculously high poly sculpted models usable in game, you retopologize them, meaning making a low poly version. After which you use computer magic to bake the details of the sculpted version into that low poly one. That's science.
Wow.
Trust me.
This process is actually really interesting. That poster's
I
about
have
to
a
fall off the
degree.
wall.
And this is indeed the moment that
Hold on,
all of our
did you see
hard
that?
work so far has been built. Trust me. I have a
Mid-video,
degree.
that thing was going to come down.
And this is indeed the moment that all of our hard work so far has been
I
building
want to see
up.
this guy called
Behold, my
Cross.
friends.
This crown of wills. Oh my God. Please no. The South
Yeah.
Park episode. Hey Dixie,
Thanks to
yeah,
the Sword of
feeling much
1,000
better.
Truths, I
Much
went back
better.
to an old friend. Hello, Substance Painter. For hand painting textures, like I did in my mount remakes, I found 3D code to be superior. However, when it comes to procedural texturing, I don't know anything about 3D code, and I'm past the point
That's
where
right.
I'm
When you
interested
don't
in
know, where
learning.
do you go?
I have a degree.
Chat GPT.
So yeah, I got to work. To recreate the glowing runes of the blade, I made a mask in Photoshop, which I would import into Substance Painter and place upon the texture as a mask. I grabbed my trusty old drawing tablet and painted the other rune on the forehead of the skull, because that's where
How
it
do you
sits.
slay that which
Having
has
the
no
glowy
life?
bits
Yes.
already, I went in and laid a foundation of base colors for all the different components of the weapon. Stylized art involves exaggerating, yet simplifying a lot of shapes, which loses you detail. However, as you lose detail, you risk your work becoming plain and boring to look at. One thing I did in order to prevent this was adding some gradient into the texture. Also, that's how the weapon
Right,
looks.
the original one has
Additionally,
gradient.
I laid the groundwork for some highlights. This part is very important for stylized art. Lighting and strong contrast is your way to really bring your shapes out, as well as to draw attention to the focal points of your piece. For the blade, I wanted to make the light catch it in a way that looks nice and sword-like. To do so, I kept it simple and just did a bunch of manual painting. When it came to the skull, I wanted
That's a
to have
good
some
choice.
nice lights and darks to really bring its shapes out. I once more did a lot of manual work here, rather than simply relying on procedural texturing tools. Once I get better at sculpting, less of this might be necessary. Or not. Whatever. Next, I went on and did some
This is
more work
looking
on the
so
horns.
good.
I really wanted to try and give them some three-dimensionality with the texture. Lighting was once more the way to do so. And of course, the hilt. I can't forget the hilt. I started by giving it a base layer of highlight to break up the shapes.
I mean, you might say like, oh, the hilt doesn't matter, man. It's going to be covered by the hand. But no. The best part about this weapon is how it looks on your back. So the hilt is certainly important because it's going to be shown when that
painted
baby's
a good
equipped
bit of dark
on the
and
back.
some light, trying to really make it pop. Oh, and I textured the gem. But who cares about the
Details.
gem?
Look
And
at
after
the
some
little gem at
finishing
the bottom
touches
he
and
textured.
polishing work, we made it to the big moment. As always, if you like my content and would like to see more, hit the sub button.
I love
hit
this
the
guy, man.
notification bell. While you're
The
at
stuff
it,
he does is so
drop
good.
me a like and a comment. You help me a lot in the algorithms. And
I'm gonna link this in the
unfortunately,
chat.
since a lot of people just skip to the end result in these videos,
I don't.
boy, could I use your help there. I also just gotta learn how to make better videos. I know that's... But enough of that. Get your eyeballs ready. My friends, the new and updated,
Yes.
the legendary,
Yes.
the hungering cold,
Yes.
the slayer of the lifeless,
Bring it.
the sword of 1,000 truths.
So epic. The bone detail. I feel like it's looking at me. This thing literally looks like a legendary. This looks like a Legion legendary. So nice.
Bye.
I'm going to link this in the chat. If you guys haven't subbed to this guy yet, do it. This guy's content is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Tomkek is great.